Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad-Bhagavatam, Canto 6, Chapter 3, verse number 25. Prayena vedatamidam namaha janoyam Devya vimohitamatir batamayayalam Trayam jadikritamatir madhupushpitayam Vaitanike mahati karmani yujyamanaha Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Translation. Because they are bewildered by the illusory energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Yagnavalkya and Jaimini and other compilers of the religious scriptures Because they are bewildered by the illusory energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Yagnavalkya and Jaimini and other compilers of the religious scriptures cannot know the secret, confidential religious system of the 12 Mahajanas. They cannot understand the transcendental value of performing devotional service or chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. Because their minds are attracted to the ritualistic ceremonies mentioned in the Vedas, especially the Yajur Veda, Samaveda and Rig Veda, their intelligence has become dull. Thus, they are busy collecting the ingredients for ritualistic ceremonies that yield only temporary benefits, such as elevation to Swargaloka for material happiness, They are not attracted to the Sankirtana movement. Instead, they are interested in Dharma, Artha, Kama and Moksha. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Since one may easily achieve the highest success by chanting the holy name of the Lord, one may ask, why there are so many Vedic ritualistic ceremonies and why people are attracted to them? This verse answers that question. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita, Vedaishcha sarver ahameva vedyaha. The real purpose of studying the Vedas is to approach the lotus feet of Lord Krishna. Unfortunately, unintelligent people, bewildered by the grandeur of Vedic yagnas, want to see gorgeous sacrifices performed. They want Vedic mantras chanted and huge amounts of money spent for such ceremonies. Sometimes we have to observe the Vedic ritualistic ceremonies to please such unintelligent men. Recently, when we established a large Krishna Balram temple in Vrindavan, we were obliged to have Vedic ceremonies enacted by Brahmanas because the inhabitants of Vrindavan, especially the Smartha Brahmanas, would not accept Europeans and Americans as bona fide Brahmanas. Thus, we had to engage Brahmanas to perform costly yagnas. In spite of these yagnas, the members of our society performed Sankirtana loudly with mridangas. And I considered the Sankirtana more important than the Vedic ritualistic ceremonies. Both the ceremonies and the Sankirtana were going on simultaneously. The ceremonies were meant for persons interested in Vedic rituals for elevation to heavenly planets. Jadikrita matir madhupushpitayam. Whereas the Sankirtana was meant for pure devotees interested in pleasing the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We would simply have performed Sankirtana, but then the inhabitants of Vrindavan would not have taken the installation ceremony seriously. As explained here, the Vedic performances are meant for those whose intelligence has been dulled by the flowery language of the Vedas. which describe fruitive activities intended to elevate one to the higher planets. Especially in this age of Kali, Sankirtana alone is sufficient. If the members of our temples in the different parts of the world simply continue Sankirtana before the deity, especially before Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they will remain perfect. There is no need of any other performances. Nevertheless, to keep oneself clean in habits and mind, deity worship and other regulative principles are required. Srila Jiva Goswami says that although Sankirtana is sufficient for the perfection of life, the Archana or worship of the deity in the temple must continue in order that the devotees may stay clean and pure. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur therefore recommended that one follow both processes simultaneously. We strictly follow this principle of performing deity worship and Sankirtana along parallel lines. This we should continue. So this chapter 3 of the 6th canto, we are hearing the story of Ajamila. So this verse is a verse which Yamaraj is instructing his messengers. The chapter entitled is Yamaraj instructs his messengers. So these are the series of verses where Yamaraj is talking to his messengers. And who's Yamaraj? Generally when we talk of Yamaraj, we feel very afraid. Or Yamaraj. But actually Yamaraj is a pure devotee of Lord Krishna. He is one of the 12 Mahajanas. Swayambhur, Narada, Shambhu. There are a list of 12 Mahajana. Brahma is one Mahajana. Narada is one Mahajana. Lord Shiva is one Mahajana. Manu is a Mahajana. Shukadev is Mahajana. So like this, there are 12 Mahajanas and Yamaraj is at that position. So any instruction from the Yamaraj has to be taken seriously because he is a pure devotee. He is not an ordinary soul. Although his activities are different to punish the sinful living entity, because that is what has been given to him by his master, Lord Krishna. So he is dutifully executing his responsibilities. But he is a pure devotee. So the background of this verse, as we all know, Ajamila had performed all kinds of sinful activities, gambling, cheating, plundering, deserting his chaste wife, deserting his parents. And then he sought out a prostitute and engaged with her freely, and like that indulged in all kinds of sinful activities and was leading a life filled with sense gratification, enjoying without caring for any law, moral or civil. And like this, when he was about to die, he had a son whose name was Narayana. And he was very attached to this son. And he was always calling out his name, Narayana, come here, sit with me. Narayana, eat with me. Narayana, sleep with me. We are very attached to our small children and we keep calling them to come and be with us. So he was very attached to him. And when he was about to die, because he became very helpless, he was in a diseased condition. And he was seeing that the Yamaraj, Yamadutas, the messengers of Yamaraj, are coming to take his soul to the hellish planets and to punish him for all the sins that he had performed. He saw Yamadutas coming. 4 fierce-looking personalities were approaching him. And at that time, in a state of helplessness, he didn't know what to do and where to seek help. And because he was attached to his son and he saw his son was playing there, he loudly called out once, Narayana, calling out to his son for help. And because he called out the holy name of Lord Narayana, although it was indicating to his son Narayana, immediately 4 wonderful personalities appeared, and they were the Vishnu Dutas to protect Ajamila, because Ajamila had chanted the holy name Narayana. And then in the previous chapter, we saw how there was a dialogue between the messengers of Vishnu, Vishnudutas, and the messengers of Yamaraj, the Yamadutas. And the dialogue was, Yamadutas were saying that this sinful soul, Ajamila, belongs to us because he has committed so many sinful activities. There's no sin that he has not committed, so he should go with us to hell. And he has not atoned. If you have done some sinful activities, you have to atone for it. You have to do pashyata, prayashchita. You have to perform some Vedic sacrifices, rituals, fire sacrifices, all these things. He has not done anything. So the Vishnuduta said, no, he has sufficiently atoned for all the sinful activities of not only this life, but all the sinful activities of all his past, previous millions of lives. So this was the first time that the Yamadutas had faced such a thing. So they asked him, how has he atoned? What has he done that he has atoned? You're talking of not only atoned for this life, but all the past life? They said, yes. And what is that he has done? He has chanted one holy name of Narayana. And by chanting that one holy name of Narayana, all pashyatap, everything over. So they were confused. And then the Vishnudutas are talking to Yamadutas, what is real religious principles? How to understand what is real religious system? And how to perform it. So there was a dialogue, and then the Yamadutas were confused. They heard everything. The Vishnudutas didn't allow them to take the soul Ajamila. So the Yamadutas have gone back to their master, Yamaraj, and they are now asking Yamaraj, please instruct us, what is the highest religious principle? What is the ultimate sacrifice that one has to do to atone for all his sinful acts? And now Yamaraj is instructing that yes, there is, the Yamadutas had thought that Yamaraj is the highest and there is no one higher than Yamaraj. And then Yamaraj says, no, there is someone higher than me, and that is Lord Krishna, and his system is the highest system. And what is that system? Yamaraj is saying that if somebody seriously engages in chanting the holy names of Krishna, then by the power of the holy name of Krishna, this is the potency, this is the power invested in each and every holy name of Krishna, that he does not have to perform any Vedic religious sacrifices or ritual ceremonies to atone for his sin. The holy name of Narayana is sufficient, and this is the highest principle. And so in this verse, it is being mentioned that this higher principle, the highest principle, it is mentioned, this is the confidential religious system. It is not this, in this Kali Yuga, just by chanting the holy name of Krishna, because chanting the holy name of Krishna appears to be very simple, very ordinary. You can sit niyamena kalha. Anyone, anywhere can sit at any time and chant the Hare Krishna mantra without any rules and regulation. So this appears to be something very, very simple, and to say that just by chanting the holy name of Krishna, you can get completely liberated, completely freed from all past sinful acts, past many, many millions of life, it appears to be something not, it doesn't strike us. Whereas if it is told that, okay, now perform one big sacrifice and call 50 Brahmanas and chant all the Veda mantras, which is so difficult, and offer a lot of ingredients and make lot of arrangement. Yes, this is something very big. That is why Prabhupada is saying in this purport that when we inaugurated the Krishna Balaram temple, we had to install deities, and when we're installing deities, everybody should accept that yes, the installation of deities has happened in a bona fide way. So because people are unaware of this bona fide way of simply by chanting, Kalau tu nama matrena pujyate bhagavan harihi. In Kali Yuga, even if you want to worship, Kalau tu nama matrena, simply by nama, by chanting the holy name of Krishna, pujyate, you are actually worshipping Bhagavan Harihi, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So because people are unaware of this highest principle, they want all this elaborate arrangement. So Prabhupada says, for our installation of Krishna Balaram, we had got many Brahmanas and they were chanting big mantras from the Vedas. But parallelly, we were also doing a Sankirtana. And Prabhupada is mentioning that I considered the Sankirtana, chanting the holy name of Krishna, as the real installation. It is just that people are unaware. And this chanting of Hare Krishna mantra is mentioned as the confidential religious system. It is not an ordinary thing. In the Bhagavad Gita also, Krishna is saying, Rajavidya Rajaguhyam. This knowledge mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita of worshipping Krishna, devoting our lives to Krishna, simply by remembering Krishna, simply by chanting the holy name of Krishna, this is the Guhya, this is the most confidential thing. And why people cannot understand this? It is mentioned because their minds are attracted to the ritualistic ceremonies. And so their intelligence has become dull. So these people who are not aware of this higher principle of chanting, they are busy collecting the ingredients for ritualistic ceremonies that yield only temporary benefits, such as elevation to Swargalokas for material happiness. They are interested in Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, but they are not interested in Sankirtana movement, which will give them real happiness. And Prabhupada is writing in this purport, since one may easily achieve the highest success by chanting the holy name of the Lord, one may ask why there are so many Vedic ritualistic ceremonies and why are people attracted to them? Very important question. If by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra I can achieve the highest success. Now, unfortunately, people in today's age, people don't understand what is highest success in life. People think that success means have lot of opulence, have lot of riches, wealth, comfort, very nice family, very nice, all these attractive things. And people get attracted to them and they think success is further elevation to heavenly planets where all these material comforts will be many times more. But this is not success in life. Because even if you elevate yourself to the highest planet, not Indraloka, Tapaloka, Janaloka, but even if we elevate ourselves to Brahmaloka, the problem of birth, death, old age, disease remains. And if we want to get freed from this cycle of birth, death, old age, disease and attain a life of Sat Chit Ananda, a life of complete bliss, Ananda, Sat, eternal life, Chit full of knowledge, then none of these things will help us. So, unfortunately, in today's day and age, people are not aware of this confidential religious system, but Srila Prabhupada has given us in such a simple way in his books. If we read Srila Prabhupada books every day very attentively, very seriously, sincerely, then this confidential religious system, which is known to the 12 Mahajanas, will also be revealed to us. Sometimes we are in a situation where we are not in a position for association with devotees, because it is very difficult to advance in spiritual life without the association of devotees, without sadhu sangha. But we have Srila Prabhupada's books with us. We have Srila Prabhupada lectures. We have Srila Prabhupada letters. We have so much of information given by Srila Prabhupada. So if we simply engage in sadhu sangha with Srila Prabhupada on a daily basis, Srila Prabhupada is not away from us. Srila Prabhupada is very much with us. He is present with us 24 hours. And he is also one of the Mahajanas. Sarvadeva Mayo Guruhu. These Mahajanas, many of them are Devatas. And the sum total of all the Devatas, 33 crore devatas, the sum total of all the devatas is the pure devotee. So you can imagine, Srila Prabhupada is not an ordinary Mahajana. He is the most exalted Mahajana. And just like the Yamadutas are receiving instructions from the Mahajana Yamaraj, Yamaraj is speaking and Yamadutas are receiving the instruction. Similarly, we have Srila Prabhupada, the Mahajana, present with us in his full potency through his books. If we simply hear Srila Prabhupada faithfully, seriously, then all this knowledge will be revealed to us. And only when we hear from a pure devotee will a change in heart take place. This is very important. Why is it said that this confidential religious system is hidden in the heart of a Mahajana? Because a Mahajana is a person who's not just speaking, but he's a realized soul. So it's not important for us to simply hear. We can hear Bhagavatam, we can hear Bhagavad Gita from so many places. But are we hearing Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita from a person who is self-realized? Is what is very important. These days, in these days of online and all these things, there is so much of information available in the internet. If you type Bhagavad Gita lectures, you will get hundreds of people giving Bhagavad Gita lectures. Hundreds of people talking about Bhagavatam. And they speak all very nicely, very articulately. But am I hearing from a pure devotee? The Yamadutas are hearing. Yamadutas are very fierce, very ghastly. Their business is only to punish. But they came to full knowledge simply by hearing from a pure devotee. Prahlad Maharaj, a small child, when he was in the womb of a mother, not even born, that small child in the womb of the mother became a pure devotee because he heard another Mahajana, Narada Muni. Just imagine. And when he was born, he was a self-realized soul. So when we are hearing Srimad-Bhagavatam, it's very important from whom we are hearing. So here, in the Bhagavad Gita, so many places it is written that if we Vedescha sarver ahameva vedyaha Vedanta krit vedavid eva chaham. People are so much attracted to the flowery words of the Vedas and they want to engage in so many rituals, so many ceremonies. But what is the conclusion of all the Vedic literatures? The conclusion of all the Vedic literatures is Ahameva Vedya, I have to know Krishna. And Krishna, how can we know Krishna? We can know Krishna best by the way Krishna is telling us to know Him. So Krishna is telling that in Kali Yuga, if you want to know me, simply chant my holy name. And I will be known. And you will be considered very intelligent. In this verse it is mentioned that the people who are unintelligent worship the devatas. But those who are intelligent worship Krishna. Kamaistaister hritagyanaha prapadyante anya devata. Kama means material desires. Those whose intelligence has been stolen by material desires, they worship the devatas. But those who are intelligent, they worship Krishna. Bahunam janmanam ante jnanavan mam prapadyante. Bahunam janmanam ante jnanavan mam prapadyante. People who are intelligent, they surrender to Krishna by the process of chanting Hare Krishna. So this is what Yamaraj is saying, that there are two systems for progress. One is this dharma, artha, kama, moksha, which involves in this Vedic ritualistic ceremonies. And this is a very long process. And there is no surety of this process. And neither are we qualified in this Kali Yuga to perform this process. On the other hand, we have been given a much more simpler process, much more easier process, which is the sublime process, a transcendental process, and we should accept this process of chanting. in the Bhagavad Gita, a similar verse is there, the verse which is there in the Bhagavatam today. Yamimam pushpitam vacham pravadyantavi paschitaha. Pushpitam vacham. The words of the Vedas are very flowery because they appear very nice. Because generally in the material world, people are after wealth, beauty, and all these material things. And in the Vedas, it is mentioned that if you want all this wealth, intelligence, material intelligence, good beauty, opulence, power, strength, you worship this devata and then you will get it. And this is what we are seeking. So it appears very flowery. The words are very flowery. But in the purport of the Bhagavad Gita, it is mentioned, Prabhupada is writing, what kind of a flower the words of the Vedas are. It is said that the flowery words of the Vedas are like poisonous flowers. And who is attracted to the poisonous flowers? Foolish people. What will a poisonous flower help you? It will not help you in anything, rather it will kill us. So, this path of this ritualistic Vedic sacrifice is not going to take us anywhere. It is ultimately going to end in another birth and another episode of material life without any result. So, we have to understand that here it is mentioned that this process of chanting the Hare Krishna mantra is the most confidential. So we have been all blessed with a very, very rare opportunity. Just like in the material world, if the goal is something very, if there's a very, goal is something very sublime, something very nice, very high, we'll be all interested. Yeah, this result is very good. Let's try this, let's try this, let's try this. So similarly, we must realize that the result that we are going to achieve of getting freed from this material life, getting freed from this material body, becoming freed from birth, death, old age, disease is no ordinary thing. That is why in every lecture of Prabhupada, practically in every lecture you will find Prabhupada telling this, become freed from birth, death, old age, disease. Become freed from birth, death, old age, disease. Why is he saying? And we hear it every day, every time. So it should strike us, this is not an ordinary thing to become freed from birth, death, old age, disease. And not only becoming freed from these 3-4 things, but being situated in a platform of Satchidananda. The Ananda there in the spiritual world is many, many millions of times. It's uncomparable. The Ananda of the spiritual world is like an ocean when compared to the Ananda of this material life, which is like a drop of water. So how serious we should be in this human form of life. And this opportunity is available only in this human form of life. In no other forms of life this is available. So if we don't achieve success in this form of life, in this life, and if we slip down to further lower species, imagine what a loss of this human life. Wasted. So we should not lose this opportunity. Unfortunately, in today's age, the belief of people in God itself is waning. So then to talk to them that you have to chant Hare Krishna mantra and please the Supreme Personality of Godhead and go back to Godhead, all these things appear something, they don't understand these things. Because God itself, where the God exists itself, is something that people cannot conceive of. Prabhupada once in his lecture gave a very nice example to understand how God exists. And he explained it with this example. So he said, for our survival, you need water, lots of water. Now if you see Krishna, he has created this planet with 3/4 water. So much of water Krishna has given us because we can't live without water. And now water will decompose. You see a glass of water, you keep it, it will decompose, that will start smelling. So Krishna has stocked them up nicely in the oceans and seas and he has put a preservative, salt. So the water is not decomposing. We did not do that. Krishna has done that. And now Krishna has a process to extract sweet water. He engages the sun. So the water evaporates and it is stored in the clouds. And then he engages the wind so that the clouds move and get distributed all over the surface of the earth, and then it rains. The crystallized pure water is available. And then this water is stored in mountain peaks, and through pipes, which is the rivers, it is sent to all parts of the earth, sweetened water. Just imagine, when we want water, we have to apply for a water connection, you have to pay monthly fee, you have to create a sump, you have to have a pump, you have to have a pipe to pump it, you have to have an overhead tank, and then the water will come to your... Now if we say that, no, water coming, yeah, it will come automatically. No, water will not come to you automatically. You need pipe, you need pump, you need tank, you need sump, you need people, you need intelligence, and you need to pay for it. Now look at Krishna's arrangement. The ocean, the salt, the sun, the cloud, the mountain peaks, the rivers. What a massive scale it is. So isn't this a wonderful arrangement by God? Like this, Prabhupada is saying, in everything that we see in the material world, we can feel the presence of God if we have trained ourselves to see the presence of God. If we have not trained ourselves to see the presence of God, it is very difficult to see God. So many ways. Now recently, during this pandemic, we wanted oxygen. How much arrangement we had to do? Initially in the first phase, there was oxygen shortage and people were dying for want of oxygen. And then so many hospitals, they had oxygen supply and this, and it costs money. And imagine this oxygen is freely available to us. Who made this? Like this. So we have to understand that there is an intelligent creator. And it is by his mercy, everything that we need for our survival, whether it's food, water, oxygen, everything is given by God. None of these things we have manufactured in our factories. It was all available. So, this Lord who has given us everything, our duty is to please Him. Just like when the father and the mother give their children their needs, whatever they need, if the children just take it and don't offer something to their parents with love, what will the parents think? The parents don't need it because they have everything. But that loving exchange is essential. So similarly, Krishna has given us all these things. God has given us all these things. And God is wanting us to use it. We can use it. But we have to offer these things to God also. And so that God is pleased. Just like the father is pleased by this loving offering of his child, loving offering by his child to him. So God is saying, in this age of Kali, the simplest way to please me is by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. Please chant this mantra. Here it is mentioned, especially in this age of Kali, Sankirtana alone is sufficient. If the members of our temples in different parts of the world simply continue Sankirtana before the deity, especially before Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they will remain perfect. It is such a simple line. We all want to remain perfect, right? Who doesn't want to be perfect? Now here is the formula. Sankirtana is the process by which we will remain perfect, and Prabhupada is again saying, there is no need of any other performances. So that means if Sankirtana alone is sufficient for us to remain perfect, and in the purport, in the beginning it is said, you can easily achieve the highest success. Not only success, the highest success. You can remain perfect just by Sankirtana. So Sankirtana has to be performed seriously. If we perform Sankirtana seriously, this chanting of holy name, of course, not seriously also has its effect because it is so powerful. But if you perform it seriously, it has very good and immediate effect. Prabhupada says that if you chant the Hare Krishna mantra very attentively, hearing the mantra carefully, then immediately you will contact God. Immediately, it doesn't take time. Na chirat. Very quickly you can contact God. So this is the highest religious principle, that we just have to, perform the Sankirtan, and towards the end of the purport, Prabhupada is also saying, since, our minds are very disturbed in this day and age, although Sankirtana is sufficient, but along with Sankirtana, the worship of deity in the temple must also continue, because the benefit of the advantage of deity worship in the temple is that we stay clean, we stay pure, the agitated mind gets calmed. Of course, the agitated mind can be controlled simply by performing Sankirtana, but we cannot come to that stage of pure chanting immediately. So we engage in deity worship, and he said that these two things, Sankirtana and deity worship, are like parallel lines, just like a train runs on two parallel lines. Both are important. Similarly, if you come to the temple and participate in the deity worship, that is also equivalent to doing deity worship, and we must, this morning program, the 4:30 a.m. to 9:30 a.m. is a perfect program where both these things, Sankirtana and deity worship, are being performed. So if we attend regularly this morning program, we are going to please Prabhupada, and we are following Prabhupada's instructions perfectly, because both things are happening. The entire 4:30 a.m. to 9:30 a.m. 5-hour program is nothing but Sankirtana and deity worship. Bhagavata Vidhi and Pancharatra Vidhi. Bhagavata Vidhi is this hearing and chanting, and Pancharatra Vidhi is the deity worship. And the 5 hours of engagement gives a devotee sufficient strength so that he will stay energized, he will stay Krishna conscious, and like this, day after day, if we do this, slowly our progression in devotional service will continue, and one day we will all become perfect. To achieve perfection in spiritual life is not impossible. It is very much possible. We simply have to apply ourselves seriously, persuasively, perseveringly in this process. Is it such an easy process? What are we doing? We are not doing some difficult things, using a brain to understand some difficult subject matter. Chanting, dancing, kirtan, hearing Bhagavatam, hearing Krishna, and it is so nice. And this is the process. So we should not become slack in this process, thinking that, every day 5 hours program and now no. This is the program that is going to make us perfect. And simply by our regular attendance in this program, we are going to please Srila Prabhupada, because by attending this program, we are making a statement. What is that statement? I am serious about it. Sometimes we may feel sleepy. Sometimes we may feel, little tired. But simply by attending this program religiously, systematically, and trying to focus our mind in this Sankirtana and this Bhagavata and all these things, we are going. This is sadhana bhakti. That a devotee is applying himself seriously in this process. So, we are very blessed that Prabhupada has given us such a simple process, and by this process we can achieve complete perfection and our life will become perfect. So this is what is mentioned in this verse, and we will continue next week. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki, Granthra Srimad-Bhagavatam ki, Nitai Gaur Premanande.